Welcome back to a special edition of Tucker Carlson Tonight. You may have noticed, if you live in this country, that all of a sudden we have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people living outdoors, often in tents given to them by probably well-meaning but idiotic Protestant churches. Oh, give the homeless tents. And we call them homeless, but almost invariably they have substance abuse and mental illness problems. They're addicted to drugs. They either have pre-existing mental illness or they become mentally ill from using drugs, particularly from using meth. That's just true. So why would any society that wants to continue turn over its public spaces to the enemies of society? That's exactly what we've done. There's nothing compassionate about it. It's not good for the so-called homeless, and it's terrible for everybody else. And in fact, people die when you do that. But they continue to do it. LA, for example, totally destroyed by people living outdoors. In LA, a homeless man just stabbed a UCLA graduate student to death in a furniture store. No known motive, they say. Just walked in and killed her. Here's the report from local news.
24-year-old Brianna Kupfer was a UCLA grad student studying architectural design. The Pacific Palisades resident was working as a design consultant at Croft House, a high-end furniture store in the Fairfax district. At about 1:30 Thursday afternoon, Kupfer was alone in the store at La Brea and Beverly. LAPD says a homeless man went in and stabbed her to death. About 20 minutes later, a customer came in and found her on the floor. Detectives say this is the suspect they need your help finding. Last seen on surveillance walking through the back alley of the businesses toward Oakwood Avenue.
The homeless. No, murderous vagrants who have taken over our cities, who contribute nothing. You can feel sorry for them. It's sad as hell. On the other hand, our pity for them does not outweigh our obligation to each other, to the defenseless, to children, to women working alone in stores, to every American citizen, the people who contribute, who pay taxes, who build things, not just destroy them. That's our obligation here. And we've totally lost track of that, or the left has. That very same day in Los Angeles, another so-called homeless man attacked an emergency room nurse near Union Station. She later died. No big deal. What does that have to do with equity or white supremacy? Nothing. We just sort of move on. But people are leaving cities because of this. In Times Square in New York, another deranged guy living outside threw a woman in front of a train. She was killed. Watch this reporter explain how that attack unfolded.
Police say this homeless man, 61-year-old Simon Marshall, shoved 40-year-old Asian woman Michelle Go onto the train tracks of an oncoming southbound R train Saturday morning.
You pushed the woman on the tracks? Yeah, you're going down. Yes, I did.
The NYPD says Go was standing on the platform of the 42nd Street Times Square subway station just after 9:30 a.m. when Marshall, for no apparent reason, shoved her.
Tell us again, Joe Biden, about how organized white supremacy is the major threat to the homeland. No, we're watching the homeland degrade right in front of us because we can't say no to the enemies of civilization. People living outside, doing drugs in front of our children. If you can't say no to that, you're done. You're toast. It's over. We should say no. Chris Bedford is a senior editor at The Federalist. He joins us now. Hey, Chris. So why can't we just acknowledge what's hundreds of thousands of people living outside and no one says anything? What is going on?
In Washington, D.C., we call them the otherly housed, and they have advocates who drive in from rural Maryland suburbs and Virginian suburbs to say that they need generators, they need porta potties, they need to be bought these very expensive tents. You can't get rid of them due to COVID. You can't disperse them. And you know what? This is a danger. This is deadly to these people. It's incredibly sad, Tucker, to walk by Union Station and see an old man who's dying of drug addiction slumped up against a telephone pole like I've seen, and see a young drug dealer show up and exchange that man's little bit of money he's begged for a bag of drugs, and the addiction that continues. Well, police sit just a half a block away and do nothing. And the police do nothing because when they try to prosecute people, when they go into homeless shelters that are being preyed on by drug addicts, they're not, the prosecutions don't come. The Department of Justice claims right now they're denying our local ANC rep access to the data on the rise in crime in Washington, D.C. alone. They're saying we don't even keep that data. They're refusing to prosecute. They won't back up the police, and because of that, there's an unbelievable level of violence. We've surged about 250% in violent crimes just in my hometown, Washington, D.C. in the last 10 years. That's absolutely insane and untenable, and politicians seem unwilling to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, nobody will acknowledge how fragile civilization is, all civilizations, and the enemies of the West are trying to destroy ours, I would say very directly, by encouraging this kind of stuff, and the rest of us sit passively by and say, oh, we feel sorry for people, we have, but who feels sorry for the citizens who are keeping everything running?
friend of mine, Sean Kennedy, who's fighting this in Virginia, brought this up to me the other day when he said, you're hiring right now on these prosecutors people who only want to take care of folks who are in prison. They don't want to take care of these people who are in bad communities.